You're playing Elden Ring, and you come across a room full of turtles. You check the messages that have been left by other players throughout the space. What's happening here? Well, players are given a very limited in-game vocabulary for animals and creatures, and turtle is not on this list. Somehow, out of all of these words, players have come to agree turtles are dogs. These messages are left by different people at different times, and somehow they've all collectively agreed on this use of language. The word dog is often associated with thoughts like good boy and cute, and these turtles seem like cute good boys, so turtles are dogs now. This playful, intuitive use of written language has its basis in poetry. Oh yeah, don't worry, this isn't another lore video, by the way. We're not here to talk about the story behind Elden Ring, and instead this video is about the way that language is used throughout the game. For those not in the know, Elden Ring is a video game released in February 2022. The director is this guy, Hidetaka Miyazaki, and he's notable for directing Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. These games feature such a consistent approach to gameplay that they're part of their own genre, referred to as Souls games. Miyazaki's unique relationship to stories and language was shaped by his love of reading. In an interview for IGN, he said,
"Growing up as a kid, I loved to read. I liked to read books that were above my range. I always tried to aim higher and read difficult books. What would happen is, although I would read them, sometimes because I was so young, I couldn't read too deep into them. Maybe I would understand half the story. What would happen is that my imagination would fill the other half, and that imagination element would just blow up. That's the part I enjoyed as well, filling the gaps where I didn't understand the readings, where my imagination took me eventually to think that I would understand what I was reading."
Many people view the Souls series as cryptic because each game's story is revealed in an abstract and fragmented fashion through NPC dialogue, item descriptions, environmental storytelling, and seemingly random messages scattered across the world. But these games aren't being cryptic for the sake of being cryptic. They're possible to understand, but they do take work to decipher all of the details. How people interpret the Souls games is similar to how historians piece together all of the details of ancient Greek culture through songs, art, and poems. Picture the player as an anthropologist of sorts, someone that discovers and researches artifacts, and then tries to piece history together through known landmarks, documents, stories, and relics. To put together the narrative in these games, you visit ancient ruins and cities, collect items that give you tidbits of the world's history, and you experience events that unfold through character interactions, defeating bosses, and viewing messages left by other players. So you can think of the in-game culture of messages in the Souls games like graffiti or tagging. Players use this mechanic to indirectly communicate with each other in their shared space. They vandalize the entire world with their messages, some thoughtful, some enlightening, and others just weirdly horny. Players use the system to talk back to their environment or to express a specific tone based on what they've seen or experienced. Some people will add on to what other people have written as well, creating a series of related messages through cooperation. It's also used as a method of one-upmanship. Some players leave messages in areas that are hidden or hard to get to. Others aim to gain high amounts of appraisals by leaving behind messages that other players find funny or useful. And still others choose to prank players into throwing themselves off a ledge, or maybe giving them the hope that they'll find some sort of secret area hidden behind an illusory wall. There's always that type of guy. Graffiti, or more specifically tagging, is a human impulse that spans thousands of years. I mean, who doesn't want to write their name somewhere where it could be found in a few hundred years, just for fun? Evidence of tags can be found on ancient structures such as the pyramids, the streets of Pompeii, and in Maeshowe, a Neolithic burial mound in Orkney, Scotland. Fun fact, Maeshowe features Viking tags that were written in runes sometime around the 1100s, and many of them sounded a lot like these in-game Souls messages. Some tags lied about the locations of treasure, and others, well, I can't read them out loud to you on YouTube. In summary, messages in Elden Ring vary in intent and can offer directions, suggestions, or outright deceptions. Some messages are reference to other Souls games or game franchises, or even the anime Berserk, which was a huge influence on Miyazaki's games. Some players are out to claim ownership of the in-game space, and others are just trying to make jokes to provide levity in this grim world. So let's go deeper and examine the poetics of Elden Ring. But before we get into the specifics, we're going to need to define a few things so we're all on the same page. Well, what's poetry? Let's just begin there. Poetry is a genre of literature. It's an arrangement of words that express feelings or ideas, and it may feature a distinctive rhythm or style. Poetry can be read as words on a page, spoken out loud, posted as tweets, statuses, comments, and copy pasta. It can be written as graffiti. It can even appear as text on screen in a game, and that's just to name a few things, but there's many different understandings of what poetry is or can be. So what about poetics? What does that even mean? Well, poetics refers to the study of linguistic techniques in poetry and literature. So that means when we talk about poetry, we're talking about all of the various characteristics and choices that make up a poem in addition to the context of it all. Some basic features of a poem are the genre. What type of poem is it? There's three main types: narrative, dramatic, or lyric. We'll circle back to this soon. There's lines and stanzas. Think of these as the sentences and paragraphs in a poem. There are single rows of text and groupings of rows. Then there's the subject, so who or what is being talked about or shown in this poem. The theme, that's the topic of the poem, what it's all about. The imagery, so that's what's being described and how it's being described to us. The rhythm is formed by the stresses and pauses in each word as we say them. Rhyme, now that's an easy one. That's just words that sound alike arranged into patterns. Point of view, that's who is speaking. The tone is how it makes you feel overall when you read it. So are you feeling joyful, sad, grateful, or angry at this poem? And then there's figures of speech, so similes, metaphors are different types of comparisons. And of course then there's puns, wordplay, symbols, and more. And lastly, there's the form. So that's what the poem actually looks like. This isn't a comprehensive list of all of poetry's traits, but it'll get you started. Okay, so what are some of the poetics occurring in Elden Ring? Well, we're looking at lyric poetry as our genre. As I mentioned before, there are three overarching types of poetry: narrative, dramatic, and lyric. Narrative tells a story, whereas dramatic poetry portrays a situation and it's meant to be spoken out loud. Lyric poetry comes from the Latin word lyricus, meaning of or for the lyre. These poems were originally accompanied by music, however, nowadays many lyric poets write for the page. In lyric poetry, the overall vibe is melodic and the mood is emotional, which is appropriate for the tone in Elden Ring. The words that are used express a state of mind, perceptions, and feelings, rather than telling us a story directly. The lyric qualities of the game are subtly backed up by the occasional presence of music and musicians throughout the game as well. In terms of lines and stanzas, we see brief 1 to 2 line messages that result in a single stanza. The subject, theme, and imagery is pure high dark medieval fantasy. The limited vocabulary provides us with images like armor, talisman, dragon, knight, mage, demi-human, incantation, castle, monstrosity, and so on. You get the idea. Messages aim to describe the surrounding environment, an idea, or a feeling. The tone is mysterious, subdued, and restrained because of its limited descriptions, passive emotions, lack of swears, and generous use of ellipsis. The point of view is straightforward as well. A single unknown author is speaking to a single unknown other. We know this because the messages are written in first person, because the speaker in the message is referred to as I, as in, if I only had a ... There is no you in Elden Ring's vocabulary, but there is an implied audience or receiver of messages with phrases like try blank or blank ahead. These are phrases that you say when you're talking to someone else. And in terms of figures of speech, This vocabulary and the form that it takes allows for metaphors, jokes, memes, innuendo, and more. There's plenty of playful ways to express your thoughts through this language. And lastly, there's form. The message form is built right into the game, and it looks like this. Templates, words, conjunctions, second line of templates, second line of words, and then an added gesture. This message form has stayed relatively consistent throughout most Souls games. We did have plans to present examples from other games, but... Poetry is deceptive in its simplicity. There's always a surprising amount of information packed into only a few carefully chosen words. I mean, even defining poetry and what it's for isn't as straightforward as it seems. There's as many different definitions of poetry as there are poets. American poet and teacher Brenda Hillman muses, "I thought poetry had the obligation to try and express what cannot be expressed, but that it could not always be done in direct ways." Hillman is an advocate for poetry that some readers consider intimidating, off-putting, or downright difficult. In her essay on poetic theory titled "Cracks in the Oracle Bone: Teaching Certain Contemporary Poems," she claims that poetry equips us with 4 tools. Number 1, the sense of who we are in our environment. Number 2, the understanding that every word and phrase matters and can be of interest. Number 3, the idea that meaning circulates on many levels. And number 4, the conviction that the strange mystery of our existence can be represented. These 4 thoughts can help us as readers enter into any poem and begin to understand it, or at least try and feel it out a little. If we think about the messages and vocabulary used in Elden Ring, each of these 4 ideas continue to ring true. The in-game use of language gives us a sense of who we are in this setting. Every word and phrase can be of interest in different combinations. The meaning of words circulate and vary as players communicate with one another. And the strange mysteriousness of the world and its lore are invoked and revealed through this cryptic writing over time. While poems may have an obligation to express the inexpressible, they are under no obligation to make it easy for us, according to Hillman. Likewise, Miyazaki's Soulsborne games frequently face the criticism of being too difficult. The choice to make the games challenging without providing an easy mode has become a hallmark artistic choice of the series that makes or breaks the experience for most players. If all poems were easy, they couldn't offer us new thoughts, ideas, or experiences. And sometimes the most difficult poems can bring us the gifts of insight, attentiveness, patience, and skill if we're willing to spend time with them. Well, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and if you happen to like what we do here at Contemporary Tart, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, or maybe comment with your thoughts down below. Have you ever really thought about the poetics of video games before? Let us know. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.